Actually, what changed the way we grocery shop is I went to a store which will remain unnamed, and I bought a bag of vegetables, and I noticed that there was this odor in the car, and brought it home, and there was just it became more and more prevalent to the, and he started saying, "What is that smell?" And we realized ultimately that it was the vegetable, and it smelled so bad of pesticides, and we put it in the car for me to return to tell them at the store the next day. And when I got in the car, I opened the door of the car, and this was in the trunk. It was this wave came out of the car, and I had to drive with my windows down for 2 days.
To me, that's what excites me about it, is the sustainability aspect of it. And a lot of people are, I'm equally as interested in it, but to me what drives me to it is the sustainability aspect of it. But a lot of people are into the educational aspects of it.
I think a community garden has a way of bringing neighbors together. Um, I think every school should have one, so their children would know, and they should take the food into the cafeteria and let the kids grow their food that they eat in the cafeteria. People who don't have access to land are the ones who really need the community gardens the most. If you live in an apartment or a condominium, or if you're a person who gardened when you were younger and you're living in a condo because you can't take care of your whole yard, you could have a community garden to go and use your leisure time to grow your own food.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
This garden looks like will be about 50 plots, and we're going to use swimming pools. So right now, as you can see, we're using the buckets to kind of show where the plots are going to be so that we can see how much space we need in between each plot. I think in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll be able to actually get the plots in and soiled so that people can start planting. So we're looking at a very late spring or early summer growing season at this point.
The raised beds are really, they have a lot of advantages. First of all, it's neat and it confines the activity. You can build it in an area. We have terrible soil here.
Oh, nothing grows.
Yeah, very little grows,
Except
particularly
mango.
in the summer. It doesn't retain very much moisture. It's just sandy. Okay, but here you can actually, in a very quickly, you can create a little area that the soil is just right, and it's easy to maintain the moisture in one little box. Okay, and it keeps the weeds out.
I had never had a mulberry, and I was out at Sweetwater Farms, and there was a young couple that had set up a booth, and it looked like a long, arched blackberry. And they said, "Oh, you should taste these. We got them off our tree today." And it was so delicious. And I said, "I've never had one." And they said, "Well, they don't sell them commercially because they're just too fragile." And so we started looking into it, and well, could we have one in Tampa? Because they were north of here. And then we started asking at the nursery we go to a lot, and they were going to get the mulberries in because they didn't have any when we were interested in planting them. And so we're looking forward to that. Yeah.
These are these are different kinds of sweet peppers, like bell peppers. Okay, some are orange, some are red, some are green. Some are green and red in all different colors. Okay, I've got some peppers over there too. Okay, these are lima beans, and they really came up fast. Those are really they're happy. In between here, I'm experimenting with some romaine lettuce.
It's not quite mature yet, but it comes out with a beautiful purple and yellow flower, and then it develops into this, and then gets a little bit bigger and loses some of the purple. But it's a pigeon pea.
They're called mother-in-laws because they've got such long, sharp tongues.
I know the seniors would love to have a garden because they get out and work in their yards and keep them nice. But the fact is they're afraid if you put it in, it's not going to go anywhere because of what's going on in the neighborhood. If we got out there and did all the work, and then the drug boys or somebody at night come out there and tear it all up, it's like you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
It's got to be somewhere where our Prime Watch people can see it.
Can't grow anything very well in the dirt we have here. It repels water. So, you know, there is an initial investment trying to get some decent soil to grow in.
Where we have to get a little imaginative about how we're going to handle the water sources. This has never been developed, and there's no water source. So we're right next to an area where we think we'd be able to get some water. But we're going to be using rain barrels for water catchment, and that's one of the biggest things that we want to show people is that you can do water catchment on your own very easily, and the rain barrels are going to be a good example of how to water your garden without using, tap water.
Well, the kids gave us a book for Christmas on organic gardening, and one of their suggestions was to put, what was it? Wood ash from a wood fire around the base of the fig because the ants don't like it, and it'll help repel the ants from the figs. So we'll see.
You're not supposed to put cantaloupe or watermelon next to yellow squash plants in your garden because yellow squash have a lot of
Pests.
Insects really like yellow squash, particularly the dreaded stink bug. The squash bug, which people call stink bug because when they try to eradicate them, they crush them and then they smell bad.
She said her husband was out stamping on stink bugs trying to get rid of them because they were growing organic, and she said it was incredible. They swooped in, and within a couple of hours their crop was done.
Oh my.
You're not supposed to plant hot peppers with sweet peppers because they will interpollinate and you'll end up with hot sweet peppers. Vegetables that are a little bit tender. You can prolong their growing season by growing them between taller plants that will shade them. If you don't germinate the plants fast enough, they will actually rot. Okay, or be very susceptible to fungus.
So you really need to rotate when you put things in, so you can rotate it through your kitchen a little more efficiently rather than having 12 heads of lettuce all,
Yeah.
Oh, how many salads are we going to eat?
You're supposed to, you thin out, you plant and then you thin out. Okay. Now, for a beginning gardener like me, it's heartbreaking to have to go all the trouble to get these things to come out of the ground and then you pull them out. But the book says you have to be ruthless. So, I'm going to be ruthless. So there. Deciding which one lives and which one dies.
There's a big investment in the beginning and a learning curve, but I think ultimately, sure. And it tastes way better than what you can get in the store. It really does. Really does. Once you've grown your own lettuce, you're going to want your own lettuce from then on.